They are small, fast, and almost invisible. And in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz, they are becoming one of the biggest threats to the world's most powerful navy. Iran has once again shut down the Strait of Hormuz after briefly reopening it as tensions with US continue to escalate following American blockade of Iranian port and of course we know that is the Strait of Hormuz. They're trying to blockade it amid a temporary truce. Now I'm just reading it from the source that I have obtained this news from. Quote, they said, and at the center of this strategy is reportedly a swarm called the Mosquito Fleet, a network of small high-speed attack boats designed not for traditional naval battles, quote, but for sewing chaos that can overwhelm the biggest warships. These boats are fast, some reaching speeds of up to 100 knots, lightweight and highly mobile. Many of these boats are modified civilian vessels with machine guns, rockets, and built for hit and run attacks. This is a new nightmare for Donald Trump. He did not think about this before he went to war. He had absolute no idea about Iran's capabilities, what they can do, what they cannot do, who they are. Even he doesn't know anything about the civilization. Now he is seeing all of these things are popping up, this new weapon, missiles, different high-tech missiles with the obviously sometimes help of Chinese military and Russian military. Now he is absolutely panicking. He's collapsing. He's just gone. And now I will share with you some very, very important news in addition to this one, what happened with these Iranian boats. But before I move on, just to remind you, not subscribe to my channel, consider subscribing because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, Facebook algorithm, and I really appreciate this. I want to take a look at this one.
Motor vessel Tosca, vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
Eight weeks now into what Donald Trump initially described as a, quote, little incursion into Iran, and the prospect of prolonged and
little incursion into Iran. How funny that sounds, right? Donald Trump is now a laughing stock. There is no doubt about that. Everything he said about this Iran war before and after is just making him look more miserable.
Peace, even after so many declarations of victory, appears as elusive as ever, with the delicate ceasefire now on the verge of expiring. There is some hope this afternoon, at least, tied to a U.S. delegation's trip to a neutral site, Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, for peace talks with Iranian officials. Trump says his VP, J.D. Vance, will lead that group, which will include Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, along with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff.
So I just want to talk about the definition of insanity, right? As we know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. He is sending the same people, those Mossad agents, Kushner, Steve Witkoff, expecting that there will be a deal with Iran when it did not happen in the past, and it is very unlikely to happen. We do not even know whether Iran will actually take part in this negotiation and how that will go. But, you know, Donald Trump is Donald Trump, doesn't know what he's doing for sure with the cognitive decline. He is going through serious health issues. So, yeah, this is something expected, I guess.
Not a moment too soon. This morning, Trump told Bloomberg that the ceasefire would end Wednesday evening Washington time. If it does lapse, Trump told PBS News this, quote, then lots of bombs start going off, end quote. So any optimism associated with a potential deal ought to be tempered by the reality of the last few days. Since we last met Friday, Donald Trump has thumped his chest and declared Iran had, quote, agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. Then one day later, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz again. Shortly after Iran appeared to fire on a pair of Indian flagships in the area, U.S. forces carried out an attack and seizure of an Iranian cargo ship that appeared intent on defying the U.S. blockade. But the awe-inspiring and deliberate and calculated precision of the U.S. military now stands in stark and undeniable contrast to the frenetic and erratic decision-making and public utterances of its commander-in-chief. His chaotic leadership in public and private is the subject of a remarkable new piece of reporting from the Wall Street Journal. In detailing the moment Trump's appetite for risk had run out and his fears were ramping up, the Wall Street Journal reports this, quote, "It was Good Friday afternoon in a nearly empty West Wing soon after the president learned that an American jet had been shot down in Iran with 2 airmen missing. Trump allegedly screamed at aides for hours. The Europeans aren't helping, he said repeatedly. Gas prices average $4.09. This according to people who had spoken to him. Images of the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis, one of the biggest international policy failures of a presidency in recent times, have been looming large in his mind, according to people who have spoken to him. Quote, if you look at what happened with Jimmy Carter, with the hostages and helicopters, it cost them the election, Trump had said in March. Quote, what a mess. Speaking of elections and the public's view of Donald Trump, a new NBC poll has his approval at a second-term low, 37%. That's the lowest it's been in NBC's polling. On Iran specifically, an overwhelming share of the American people disapproves. More than half strongly disapprove.
Okay, so I just want to tell you something that you may not have heard by now, and that is, if you remember, Donald Trump sent his troops to rescue that one pilot rescue, right? It was obviously an operation to seize those nuclear weapons, or not the weapons, the uranium, the enriched uranium. That was the main goal, and that failed miserably. That backfired. That failed miserably. When that happened, Donald Trump was absolutely lunatic. He was shouting at people. He was going crazy. And during that operation, he was kept away from the Situation Room, from seeing those footages, those videos coming from Iran. Because remember, when Laden was caught, they broadcasted it to the president. At that time, it was Obama. And this time, it was supposed to be broadcasted to Trump because this operation was very, very important. They were going to seize all the enriched uranium. But guess what? Dan Cain said, the military chief of staff, no, Trump will not see none of those things. And then we also have a meeting, according to Midas Touch and some other news outlets reporting. In that meeting, Donald Trump wanted to know the nuclear codes. Thanks God, looks like he doesn't know those codes, but he wanted to know. Dan Cain said, I'm using my full authority not to let him have those codes because, again, nobody can trust him what he will do. Then this report also confirmed from MS Now that when the American aircraft was shot down, he went crazy. He was lunatic. He was shouting for hours at staffers, at military generals, and therefore now they are all worried that this guy is so unhinged that he can do anything. And of course, this is going to be his legacy, that he has lost this war so miserably. That's not what he wants to do. So he doesn't want his legacy to be like that. Subscribe for more videos, guys. See you in the next one.